Alrighty. Hello, everybody. Hope you're doing well. I hope you enjoyed the video on the Mojo. So today we're going to complete our little adventure here. We got our marinated pork out of the refrigerator now. Now we're just going to set it right up now. I'll tell you what, you can really smell that Mojo as it's coming out. Beautiful, nice and citrusy. Okay. Then what we're going to do is just take a little bit of that marinade. Just kind of pour it over just to make sure it doesn't dry out. Alright. Put this in the sink. We'll deal with that later. And we got a oven 375. We're going to pop it in there. Starting for about 40 minutes and then we'll go from there. Alright. Bada bing, bada boom, bada bang. Right there. Easy squeezy lemon peasy. Now, what we're about to do is we're going to make our side, right? Primarily what it's going to come with is a kind of a tropical rice pilaf, if you will. So this is going to be easy. We're going to make some rice, but not just any rice. We're going to start with a base of what's called arroz con coco, or coconut rice. You're going to see this all throughout the Caribbean, Latin America. It's incredibly easy, right? So to start, we're going to do with some rice. We're going to have some coconut milk. And then we're going to throw in a little bit of mangoes and a little bit of pineapple, really create that tropical feeling, right? Because I don't know about you, but it's summer. I'm officially done with school. I want to go on a vacation, but I can't because of the stupid coronavirus. And I get it. I understand. We're in an international pandemic and we have to take precautions, blah, blah, blah. But I don't got to like it, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go on a little vacation with my culinary menu today. And we're going to go to the tropics where it's nice and cool. Alright. So, what we're going to do is first, we're going to start with about a cup of rice. But what we're going to do is, while this is getting hot, we're going to end up toasting our rice first. Technically this is optional, but trust me, you want to do it. So what we're going to do is we're going to put a little bit of fat, and that's how we're going to toast our rice as this is getting hot. So, a couple things you can do, right? You could use butter. A lot of people use butter. You could use olive oil, canola oil, whatever. What I'm going to do is, remember, you know, the idea of here is I want this to have kind of a coconut flavor, right? So I'm going to use coconut oil to actually kind of render this. And I got a little bit in here. We'll see if we'll... And you're just going to... Dropped a little bit on the burner there, so let me get something to see if I can clean that off before it gets too hot. Alright. So you're just going to drop, and you'll be surprised with coconut oil how much a little bit will go. Alright. So I'll just get this out of the way. Alright, we got about a cup of rice. Okay, just dump it in there. And you just want to kind of stir it. Again, we're not trying to cook the rice right now. All we're trying to do is toast it. And technically you don't really have to do this, but it does make a difference in the end. Okay. And you're just going to kind of do it just a little bit until you start getting kind of flecks of gold. So then what we're going to do is we're going to dump this entire can of coconut milk in there. And then we're going to kind of bring this up to a boil. And then once it comes up to a boil, we're going to kind of turn it down to low and just let it simmer for about 15-20 minutes. And then that's how it's going to cook. And when it comes, it's going to have this beautiful coconut flavor. This is something that, like I said, you see this all the time in Latin America. Like in Colombia, you would see it, and Brazil, anywhere you're going to see this coconut rice. And then once we bring this up to a boil, while we're waiting for this to kind of finish, we're going to get started on our dessert, which is going to be a mango and passion fruit crumble, like a tropical fruit crumble. And now, you don't know what a crumble is, so it's similar to kind of a pie, right? But there's no bottom layer. There's no bottom crust. So it's just kind of the topping that's going to be on top of the fruit. And I love crumbles for a couple different ways. One, they're really easy. Two, they're versatile. You can basically use any fruit in the world you want. You can use frozen, canned, fresh, whatever you want. They're really easy. They're very versatile. And also, you know, one thing, I'm not a huge baker. And the reason for me is that, you know, when you're baking, or for me, like when I cook, the reason that I like cooking so much, and you can tell, if you can tell right here, it's kind of starting to simmer a little bit. The reason I like cooking so much is because it really is kind of an expression of myself, right? And that's what I like. You know, you find a recipe, you kind of make it your own, you twinker this and that, and it's great. With baking, you really can't do that as much, because you're dealing with a lot of physics and things like that. So like if you take an ingredient out or put an ingredient in, it can very much change the entire recipe and change the entire product. And so I don't really like, for me, baking's just less fun because there's less me in it. But crumble is kind of like the cooker's dessert, I guess, because you really can kind of make it your own, and that's really what we're going to do today. Alright, as you can see, it's starting to boil. We're going to wait a little bit longer, and then we're going to turn this bad boy to medium. Or excuse me, turn it to low, not medium. There we go. We're going to put the lid on right here. And we're going to turn this all the way down to the low. And we're going to put the timer. Oh, son of a gun. I just done messed up. Alright. There we go. And we're going to put it for 20 minutes. Alright. Now let's get everything in for our awesome crumble, right? So you're going to get an oven-safe dish. This is a small one. Most of them call for like a typical 8x8, 9x9 dish. I just use this small one because it's just an Italian myself. So we don't want to get a little too crazy. So for the filling, literally all you're going to do is we chopped up some mangoes. Or my beautiful wife chopped up mangoes. And we're just going to put the mangoes in there. Okay? Now we're going to save a little bit of mangoes because we have our tropical rice that's also going to utilize the mangoes. Okay? But again, you know, you could literally use anything in the world that you want in order to do that. Just last week I made an apple crumble. You know, blackberries go amazing with it. Actually, what I'm going to do first is I'm going to toss them, so I'm not going to put them directly in the bowl. I got a little bit ahead of myself. It happens. Alright, so we're just going to put this in there. Alright. So what we're going to do is first we're just going to sprinkle them with a little bit of flour. Sorry for the freneticness. Again, I know you've heard me complain about this umpteen times. I don't really have a big kitchen. So sometimes I play like I play gymnastics trying to get through it, different places. All right. And then we're gonna strain in some of this passion fruit. Now, if you've never had passion fruit, it's really big and it's basically like a gourd. And it's this kind of gelatinous material with a lot of seeds. But it also has a lot of, like I said, has a lot of seeds. So we're gonna, and you can tell these are all the seeds. So we're gonna strain it because we want the pulp. We don't necessarily want the seeds. Okay? But it's this beautiful kind of a sweet and tart fruit that is really absolutely amazing. You see this all over the place in Latin America. And it makes a really good juice too. And like I said, it's just delightfully tart. And so we have this pulp, and we just want to kind of pass it through a sieve. That way we can get all that beautiful juice and pulp out without getting the seeds. Let's see if I have something I can. So yeah, so just kind of take the back of the spoon, try to push it through the sieve or the strainer. And get as much as that pulp as you can. We actually lucked out. We were just driving around one day and we saw a Latin grocery store, and they had the passion fruit pulp in there. So we got a bunch of that, and we got some guanabana too. And we're lucky they didn't have lulo, or we might be poor, because I do miss some lulo. So here we have, and all we're gonna do is just kind of put a little bit of flour, not really enough. You're not trying to coat it. All you're really trying to do is put enough so that it'll thicken up a little bit when it cooks. Okay? So just a little bit of flour, and then a little bit of cinnamon. Because this is going to be pretty fruit forward, so you don't want to, you don't want to like just bombard it, because this is beautiful fruit. Okay, beautiful. And then we'll just kind of dump all of that in there. And again, all we did was combine pretty much the maracuja and the mango. That's it. We're not doing a whole lot to it. The crumbles are really by themselves fruit-centric dishes. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna make the topping. The topping is easy as can be. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to take about 3/4 of a cup of flour. And so we're going to do I'm going to show you the basic topping, and then we're going to do a little bit of a spin on it. So I'll show you that. So I'll explain to you when we have the topping, and then we'll go from there. Alright. So about 3/4 of a cup of flour. And then the next one, you have a couple choices. Typically it's done with butter. Some people, I was thinking about doing it with the coconut oil, but we're just going to stay pretty centric here. So what you're going to do is, the thing to make sure is this is cold butter. Alright? Cold butter. So we're going to do about 4 tablespoons of butter. But what we're going to do is we're going to cut it into little pieces, because that'll make it a lot easier to incorporate. And then the next thing you can do with a blender, but it's easier to do this with your hands. So we're going to put that in there, and then we're going to get some brown sugar. And again, if you wanted to, you could probably use regular sugar. Brown sugar works best both in terms of the taste and kind of it'll incorporate a little bit better. Because, brown sugar kind of clumps together, and that's essentially what you're looking for. You want it to clump together. Alright. So we got about a cup of brown sugar. And again, you can use a blender, you could use a spoon. For me, it's just 100 times easier to use the old-fashioned hands and elbow grease. Alright, so you're just gonna literally go in there and kind of squeeze everything together. And this is why it really helps to use cold butter, because if you use room temperature butter, it's not quite gonna kind of create this kind of crumbly texture that you're looking for. And if you want to, we could probably put a little more butter in there, but I think we're good. And you can see it's kind of has these crumbles, right? That's why they call it a crumble, because of the topping. Let's see if you can kind of get up there. You can kind of see how it's starting to clump and have these crumbles. And so technically, in order to make a crumble, all you need to do is put this on top of this and stick it in the oven. Then you have yourself a crumble. But we're gonna get a little fancier than just that. So we have some granola here. And we're gonna put some of this granola in the crumble. Make sure to give it a little more of a crunch. Okay. So now all we're going to do is just sprinkle this over. And we have our tropical fruit crumble, and all we got to do is stick this bad boy in the oven, and we're going to be good to go. Stick that bad boy in, probably for about 15-20 minutes. It looks like we're out of timers here, so sweetie, can you put the your timer on for 15 minutes, please? Alright. So Natalia is going to set the timer for me to make sure we got everything perfect. And again, that's at 350 as well, so that's why we're kind of right at the same point. So thank you. So here you have our rice, and you know, you can tell it's starting to kind of coagulate a little bit. So what we're going to do next, once this is done, is we're going to put in some of our chopped pineapple and the rest of our chopped mango. We're going to mix that up to really kind of complete this, you know, island tropical feel. And that brings us to kind of our last ingredient, which is, and yes, this is a, you know, we took a shortcut here, but we're going to make some tostones. You know, if you can find the green plantains, then, you know, by all means make them. They're really easy. But this was just one that we were lucky enough to kind of find on, you know, on sale already made. So we're just gonna fry these up. And so if you're not familiar with what tostones are, they're basically like they're fried plantains twice. And so, you know, there's two different kinds of plantain. You have these, which are like the green plantains, and then you're gonna have what's called maduros, which are more like a sweet banana. This is more kind of starchy. So what you usually do is you cut them up into pieces, and then you fry each of the pieces, and then you smash them, and then you fry them again, so they're twice fried. And so what I'm gonna do is I'm actually going to move the rice to the back burner. And you can see it's starting to kind of thin out a little bit. It still has a little bit to go, but you can see it's starting to thin out. And then you know, I'm going to get kind of a heavy cast iron pan for this one. So again, this one we're just going to kind of get some frying oil here. And then this pan I'm getting is just to place them in once they're done. So I'm not actually using that pan to cook them. I'm just going to place them there once they're done, so I can kind of keep some of the heat so they don't get cold by the time I finish everything. You know, if you had like, say, like a tortilla warmer or something like that, you could do that too. Or you can stick them in the oven, but you know, I'm using the oven, so that's why I'm using that. Yeah, if you can see the rice here is really starting to kind of come together. Just a few more minutes and that'll be done. So I'm just kind of using this. If you wanted to, you can really use any kind of good frying oil. I wouldn't use olive oil because the smoke point isn't quite high enough. But you know, I use canola oil. If you really wanted to do this like a very healthy wise, you could use coconut oil, which I probably should have used. but you know, it's no worries now. But any kind of really good high smoke point oil will do here. Let's turn that up a little bit. So far, just to kind of recap, we started off. We put our motivated pork chops in the oven. They should be done pretty soon. Then we started on our coconut rice. We toasted it in some coconut oil, and then we poured in our coconut milk, brought it to a boil. Now we're just kind of letting it simmer. We put together our awesome mango passion fruit crumble. We just combined the fruit with a little bit of, we just sprinkled a little bit of flour over it, and that's just, again, because you don't want it to be soupy. You want it to kind of, you know, gel and have almost kind of like a gelatin, kind of a thicker consistency. And so we just put our mango, our passion fruit, kind of combined it, sprinkled it with some flour and some cinnamon, just to kind of get it a little bit fruit forward and to thicken it. And then we made our crumble topping, which was just, you know, some flour mixed with butter, brown sugar. That's the basic topping. And then to kind of kick it up a notch, we decided to make a, you know, put some granola on there. And that was pretty much it. And then right now we're just kind of finishing up. Looks like there's something on the burner here, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this off, I'm going to clean the burner, and then I'll be right back with you. Alrighty, so we kind of had to make a little bit of an adjustment here. And this is just kind of finishing up from the residual heat. But sorry about that. Like I said, there was just something in kind of the burner that had gotten on, so we just had to kind of clean that up. And this is almost done. We're just kind of waiting for the residual heat to kind of finish this up. And we're still waiting for this to get hot. So the easy way is just kind of throw a crumb, and if it automatically kind of, you know, starts bubbling up, then you know it's pretty much where you want it. So again, this is the plantain. As you can see, it's kind of smashed. Yeah, so that's not really where we want it yet. It's not nearly hot enough. So the rice is just about done. And so what we're going to do is we're going to just fluff it up. Let it finish off just a tiny bit. You can see it's just a few bubbles. Okay, it's almost hot enough. And you can see just to get gold, nice, a golden brown. And so when we make the plantains, people eat these with as a side dish. People eat these kind of as a snack. They'll put a little bit of lime on them. In Colombia, they make this this kind of condiment called hogao that they put on it. And you know, maybe in Mexico they might serve with a little bit of like a pico de gallo. So really, it's just kind of a very versatile snack. So you just want to drop it on the wall. Go ahead and put it in the and make a handful more, and then that'll probably be it. Okay, so our crumble should be just about done. Let me just kind of put these last this last round of patacones or tostones in the oil, and I think we're good. All right. Looks like we need to put a little more oil in there just to get a little hot. And so this is going to be our crumble, right? You can see, you know, you got the topping, and you're going to dip in. And right there, you just got that beautiful kind of a nice gelatin there. Probably could go in for a little bit longer, so we got a little bit of time, so that's what we're going to do. This is going to be a little bit soupier than a lot of the other ones just because of the passion fruit is kind of that consistency. But we want a couple more minutes, and then in a few more minutes our pork chops should be ready to come out. Meanwhile, while these are cooking, we got our coconut rice here, perfectly ready. And so again, we're just gonna put our pineapple in there. We're gonna put the rest of our chopped up mango in there. And we're just going to kind of combine that, and that's going to give us our tropical rice. If you wanted to, you could kind of top it with some mint, just to kind of give it a nice little garnish. You could add more tropical fruit in there if you so chose. But like I said, right now you just have a really just kind of a beautiful basic tropical rice with that coconut base, and then you're going to add some mango and pineapple to it. Absolutely fantastic. Go on. Our dog is kind of getting curious. Oliva, go on. Let's take a nice little gander here. It's amazing. You have that creamy, that creamy coconut rice, and that's really from the coconut milk. It just, you know, you get a little bit of coconut from it, but really what you get is just that really creamy texture, and it's fantastic. You know, if you wanted, you could put some coconut flakes in there, but just absolutely wonderful. All right. So we're just going to take these out. And then we got our, finally we just got to take out our pork chops. And we are good to go. And there you go. Nice and juicy pork chops. Well, thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed this. I know it was a little frenetic, but you know, we got everything good to go. And join me next time, and we'll see what we make. Take care.